pick.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans, to all of our brothers and sisters down in Southeast Asia, and of course, American, European, South American, it doesn't matter. We're live for the first set of games coming out of the SEA Qualifier here at the International 2014 qualifying stage. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers. To my left, or to your right, I guess. This is Fear. We've been together most of the day, man. We did some NA Dota, or some America's Dota, I should say.
Well, it was NA Dota, two American teams.
Exactly.
So it was NA Dota.
But ready to switch it up now, and this is going to be a particular fun for us because we don't know the teams that well, if we're totally honest with ourselves.
Especially not these two teams in
Right.
particular. I know some of the Southeast Asia teams. I'm familiar with MVP in particular. Zephyr, I know their players as well.
Right,
They played in
because
America
we
for a
just
while.
know them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But these teams in particular, nope, not. I don't know them very well, so it's going to be a learning experience to say the least.
Well, let's learn together. Hope you guys will enjoy it as much as we do as we move now into the draft. We can see it is already a bit underway. Rex Regum, and that's going to be RRQ, I think is how they prefer to be tagged, against Arrow Gaming. Now, Arrow comes into play, one of the favorites to go deep in this bracket. They've had some good performances here and there, and we were talking, there are some familiar names here. One that jumped out. As soon as you said it, I immediately remembered. I just can't remember who he played for, but Johnny used to play for another Asian team that I know we saw in some big-time tournaments down the line.
He was playing on a Chinese team. I don't remember which team as well, but he was definitely in the Chinese circuit for a while.
Right.
So that is one of the bigger names I do see here. He did play carry for them. I am not exactly sure what he's going to be playing for this team, but he is the captain.
Well, the draft, as we can see, is taking shape, and it was funny. I actually tweeted right before we went live, and you and I were kind of talking. It's like, we don't know what to expect, and we were saying, we hope we don't see as much Marana. And then immediately you point to my screen and go, well, there's the first ban Jakiro. That's something a little different. Dazzle being banned out early, not super surprising, as is the Bad Rider. Doom, though, taken out early by RRQ. Front two picks for both, Invoker, Rubik on the side of Arrow, and it's going to be Sand King and Brewmaster for RRQ. Really like the Sand King Brewmaster combination. That's a hell of a lot of level 16 fight.
Right. Right now, I mean, it's weird to see, like, we've seen Sand King first phase a lot, Invoker, and Brewmaster from time to time.
Right.
And as we were saying, Brewmaster is probably a hero that's going to get more spotlight coming into the next couple months up in the TI. And a hero that's very good against Brewmaster is Rubik, because as soon as that Brewmaster ult goes down, Rubik can steal it, and he can make his own Brewmaster images.
It's been so long since I've seen that, man.
Yeah.
It's been forever.
So Rubik, I think, with Brewmaster becoming more popular, is also going to become more popular. So I do like that pickup, even though it does look a little strange picking Rubik first two. Most teams don't do it, but it makes a lot of sense here.
Well, to tell you the truth, he's got a whole lot of awesome spells to steal. One of the best, and you honestly forget it. You think about Rubik stealing big ultis, but Burrow Strike for Rubik to steal
that's
is
one of the better.
Huge.
He's got two impales he can steal. Thunderclap is also a very good spell. Any nuke on Rubik is really good because he can have that double nuke factor, and he can just blow heroes up when you get around the level 7 mark. Heroes just die really fast if you get 2 nukes on top of them, along with the disable. So Rubik is a really, really good pick here, and it looks like we're going to have the Nyx Assassin picked up. Another good hero against Invoker. Right now they have Melee Madness, so they're going to need to get some ranged supports in here. I assume Nyx is going to be their offlaner, Sand King going into the jungle as usual. They just need to pick up a carry now and another support. And as far as Arrow Gaming goes, Invoker, probably the mid. I'm not exactly sure how these teams lane it, but it makes the most sense, and Invoker normally is seen either in the safe lane or mid, typically a dominant mid. And we have a Naga, so this could be a support Naga, could be a mid Naga, could be carry Naga. Once again, not sure how they're going to play it, but draft is a little open for them.
Without a doubt, and and that's the kind of thing I feel like we should stick a caveat on it. We're guessing the lanes based on the metas we know.
Yes.
For all we know, this could be a mid Nyx Assassin pick to deal with the Invoker or something bizarre. Like, you just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know these teams well enough to actually know what lanes, so I'm gonna just, yeah, it's a learning experience for me. I'm just figuring out what they do, and I figure hopefully within the day or two I'll have the C meta figured out.
Looking forward to seeing it. So we're into the second pick phase now. We can see Ancient Apparition and Centaur were banned by Arrow. I actually really like the AA ban in particular. AA with the Sand King by itself is really, really strong in terms of team fight, the ability to push the issue very early on. But as much as anything, I mean, when you look at having the Brewmaster there with it, we talked about how strong that is. But now we're going to have an IO picked up in 4th position. So they are still looking ostensibly for a 1-position carry with the Brewmaster, we would imagine, going mid, and the Nyx going into the off lane. This leaves the door open for a Tiny. You want to talk about a lot of AoE, they'd have it there.
Yeah, Tiny could be a very good pick for him, and I think we answered the question if that Naga is going to be playing a core role or a support. They do pick up the Disruptor, so I'm interested to see if they prioritize the Naga in the mid lane. I think Naga is strongest in the mid position. I mean, in North America and Europe, we think Naga is probably dominant mid. You get the bottle up, you can spam more. I feel like you can farm faster in the mid position than you can on the safe lane with that hero, just by bottle crowing. But they could run it safe lane. I know that's how Miracle, in Asia before, he played Naga. He started this farming Naga before anyone else, and it was a safe lane farming Naga. So that's something they can do. And a little thing that's a little strange to me is picking up the Wisp against the Naga. Naga is a pretty good hero to deal with Wisp. You see the teleportation, you drop the song, and you just go back. So they do have something to deal with Wisp, but Wisp is always going to be a really potent hero. Disruptor's there too. Once they port in, you can glimpse one of them back. Especially if they go with Tiny, just glimpse the Tiny back instantly, and then it's just a single Wisp there, and it's not so scary anymore.
That's an excellent point. You know, the Disruptor, I feel like, is such a great pickup for all the reasons you just named. I mean, he on top of everything else, and they actually have good counter initiation from just about every position right now. I mean, even all the way down to telekinesis. That's just a great buy time, get some reinforcements kind of a spell. Invoker, depending on how he decides to build, if he has Tornado EMP available to him, great to shut down that kind of thing. And yeah, they're honestly not even worried about the Tiny, it doesn't seem, as they forego banning him and instead ban out the Lifestealer. Now, that's a hero we don't see played nearly as much as we used to.
That is a very peculiar ban. They have a Naga Siren already, which totally wrecks Lifestealer. It is good against Disruptor. It is good against Rubik. It's alright against Invoker, but it's really bad against Naga. Maybe they may be known for running the Lifestealer with Wisp. We don't have a knowledge on. This is a pretty popular hero to go with Wisp. C9 likes doing Gyro Wisp a lot, and they've had pretty good success with it. So it is known that Wisp and Gyro is a strong combination, and that'll round out their carry pick, which means we are going to be having offlane Nyx Assassin as our 3 position, and that'll be a Sand King Wisp running the supports and Gyrocopter on the carry, and probably that Brewmaster going into the mid position.
Yep, still waiting to see. I mean, Arrowhead does have some options available to them, but for the most part, it does seem kind of transparent. Invoker most likely mid, 1 position Naga out of the defensive tri-lane. That means they'd be looking for an offlaner right now, and RRQ seems to be right on the same wavelength we are, banning the Darkseer out with their last pick. The Centaur's already banned out another very high priority, high tier offlane hero, so now you start to consider what else would fit into this role. There you go. How about a Tidehunter? We saw Brax have a lot of success throughout the Americas qualifier running offlane Tide.
Tidehunter complements their lineup really well. I do like that choice. One thing I was going to mention, the Gyro may have been a pick as well, because they could go aggressive. Naga, Rubik, and Disruptor is a very strong aggressive tri-lane. But against a Gyrocopter, they might think twice again about that. So I would assume they're probably going to run Naga in the safe lane.
Just about ready to get loaded in. This is our first cast of the Southeast Asia qualifier here at the TI4 qualification rounds. Again, I'm AC, and that's Fear. And as you can see, we are in game, and we are ready to rock. And yeah, like, you know, it's been a long time since I've done something like this. I mean, early on in my casting career, I used to take just about any job I could, including, you know, G1 Champions League that had Southeast Asia components to it and all that fun stuff. And it's been a long time since I've gotten hands-on as a caster to get to be in a game involving Southeast Asia teams. And it, without a doubt, is a different kind of play style. As the lanes take shape, why don't you talk a little bit about how you feel as a professional player about Southeast Asia, their play style, their meta, compared to the Western world?
Right now, I don't know their meta too well, to be honest with you, but I know Southeast Asia in general has more skilled players. I feel like Southeast Asia has really, really talented, individually skilled players. The strats they use are usually a lot different. In the past, they like to be more farm-oriented. And this game, I can kind of sense that a little bit with the farming Naga, but I heard they started becoming more aggressive, but I am not so sure anymore about how Southeast Asia plays. It's been a while since I've watched Southeast Asia. I know the Chinese scene fairly well, and I know the EU scene well, obviously, since I compete a lot.
Yeah.
And in A, without a doubt, I know the best. But this is the one region which I kind of need to get educated on.
Well, we're about ready to get a first-hand lesson, and we saw very quickly RRQ decided to move out, protect their jungle. There was no one heading into that general vicinity, so and it's also a Tide that's setting up shop here in the off lane. We'll see where these two heroes go that are currently near mid, and they could honestly very easily double back. That's going to be a double damage for Johnny on the Rubik. We'll run through the whole lineups, but nope, it looks like they were just protecting that bottom rune spot, and now going to head to top, so should be a relatively quiet laning phase, which gives us time to take a look at the lineups. We're going to have Karina, and please forgive my pronunciation. I'm sure most of these are going to be butchered. I will try. Gehenna, actually. The blue's always the hardest to read on Radiant side. You ever notice that? Because of the green and the blue just doesn't stand out very well. He'll be on our Sand King, the IO. He'll be played by Boo Boo. It'll be Brewmaster. Handled by Don Juan, or Schwan, or however that's pronounced. I actually think that's a clever name. It'll be Nefari playing on our Nyx Assassin out in the offlane. The Gyrocopter going to be farmed up by Koala. Other side of the river, we'll have Johnny, as mentioned. One of the few names we actually do recognize. He'll be on the support Rubik up in this top lane. It'll be Lance, who's going to be farming up the Naga Siren right in the face of the Nyx Assassin for the moment. Off-lane Tide going to be played by Zhang Ze. Again, probably butchered, but I'm trying. Mozone will be playing on the Disruptor, who's currently doing a little bit of stacking, pulling, and the such. Let's see, will he get the pull through? Nope, sorry, mistimed it. But, so they'll be heading back in the lane. But in mid, it'll be DDZ on the Invoker.
And right now, it looks like we're able to call the lanes. And yeah, the lanes were called pretty decently for us. So they're not doing anything too crazy.
Right.
Normal, pretty standard. And we're seeing, so right there you can see the Tidehunter doing something smart, leeching as much experience as you can. It's really hard on the offlane when you're playing Dire. We're not playing heroes like Clockwork or Batrider that can just easily get experience. So Tidehunter's going to have to do whatever he can to get experience in that lane. While in the meanwhile, Nyx Assassin should have a pretty easy time getting experience for now until the Disruptor. But he can die in this lane very easily. They do have a very potent tri-lane.
Tell you what, it's pretty ballsy. He actually skilled Impale first. And he's hanging on to a point, so he's got Carapace if he really needs it, and he will. He's going to need to place that right off the bat, and he has, there it is, finally puts it in. He's going to try to make his way out. Good body blocking by Lance. There's the Carapace. Is it enough? Creeps are there to slow down Lance, and it will be Sunstrike on the mark.
Oh, man.
So DDZ getting involved early, launching the heavy artillery from mid and securing first blood for Arrow.
That's a level 1 Sunstrike. You rarely see level 1 Sunstrikes able to get a kill. But in that situation, he was able to get a kill. And he's going to pick up a region rune on top of that. So his mana pool is going to go back to full. And couldn't ask for a better start from Invoker.
We can see they're rotating in the mid. They want to put some pressure onto Dawn. The Tide made his way out of the off lane. And no, never mind. He is just going to double back for the moment. So maybe just leeching some experience. He is having a very difficult time, as we can see, still short of level 2. Level 2.5 for the Nyx Assassin, even though he did give up the first blood. And you know, Sunstrikes like that, especially when you predict the path so accurately, because he didn't just put it on the mark. It was like right here, right in that bend in the tree, like expecting him to walk through there. That's when you just type "well played" in the chat and move on. Yes, you do.
And Nyx was just getting a little too aggressive there. Like he was just taking a man fight with Rubik, knowing that the Naga was around. He's got to play a little more passive. He's trying to push his boundaries, which I love to see. I don't like people saying play too passive. And uh-oh, on top, we might have some trouble here.
There's going to be the Ensnare. Of course, the Thunderstrike there for some damage. Impale's already shot. He's got enough mana for Carapace. He's way far away, though. He used it, I think, way too early. Auto attacks and body blocking should be enough. That's 2 early deaths on the Nyx Assassin. More importantly, though, this Naga Siren and her supports are benefiting hugely every time he dies. The supports now at level 2.5 roughly each. Almost level 4 on the Naga Siren in this trialing. Compare that down here. Just level 3 for the Gyro. Level 3 for the IO. The Sand King, he's been in the jungle. He's actually doing okay at level 2.5. He should be able to jungle very effectively once he hits level 3.
Tidehunter not doing so bad on the offlane as well. He is getting some experience now. It's going to be a really rough lane for him. Nyx is going to be able to get more experience than Tide is, but he's also feeding a lot of experience and gold by dying like that, so he's going to have to be a little more careful in this lane, especially because they have 2 kills. It looks like Johnny's going to be smoke ganking mid. This Panda is going to be able to die if he is. Yep,
cold snap. Follow up with the telekinesis. Brought on back, and he turned and kind of faced his death that time. And we actually saw that Nefari was in range on the Nyx Assassin, but there wasn't a whole lot he was going to be able to do, as he was just simply there to pre-rune. And even if he had come in, best case scenario, maybe he catches 2 with an Impale. Still don't think it would have mattered, as it was just too well executed. So a very early lead for Arrow. And we're beginning to see why they're considered a favorite to come out of this entire region. Their movement early has been impeccable.
Yeah, they're really on top right now. Their movement has been good. Nyx has gave them a freebie, to be honest with you, but they're taking advantage of any mistakes that they do make on RRQ.
All right, so obviously the status quo early on for RRQ has not been going their way. What do you think's the adjustment they need to make? How do they get things back on track before they get too far out of hand?
They do have the Wisp, so they can just wait until it gets level 6. That's always the word to go, usually, for Wisp players. Once you get 6, find a hero that's out of position, and then just go on them. Disruptor is going to be a problem, though. If Disruptor places himself well and just sends the gyro back, it'll just be a Wisp there, and that won't be too scary, and they might be able to turn that. So they have ways of dealing with it, but whenever you draft a Wisp, a lot of emphasis is going to be around if you can get the ganks with your relocate.
Tell you who's off to an excellent start just to build on that, and this is just kind of explaining even the deeper woes that RRQ's up against. Arrow has been doing phenomenal in the early game. He's 2-0, one with the Sunstrike kill and then the kill in mid. He's already got up his Glove of Haste, and he's just about 1,000 gold away from finishing up his Midas, if that's going to be the build he chooses to go, as well as a Bassi, a full wand, and a Null Talisman. So the game definitely going the way of Arrow in pretty much all lanes. A bright spot, I suppose, is going to be Koala, who is farming rather effectively. He's going to hit level 5 off of this wave, and he is on top of the overall CS board, 37 and 14 for him compared to the Naga Sirens, 31 and 15. You know, the gyro tends to be able to get active a little bit more early than the Naga. How much of a factor do you think that's going to be in how RRQ decides to play out the mid game?
They're going to have to get really active really early because they are running the Panda. It's very important when you play the Brewmaster that your first couple ultimates are effective. And on top of that, gyro is not a hero. Well, against Naga Siren, he's okay, but I think he's highly overrated. A lot of players like running the gyro against Naga because you get the flat cannon, which can kill illusions, but you can't be everywhere else. So if they do split the illusions well enough, it's going to be very hard in the late game for him to deal with it. So he's going to have to take the fight to them in the early mid game.
We see the Tide picked up a haste rune there and tried to do something with it and really didn't find anything to do but double back to lane. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, that's going to have to be where their bread and butter comes from. They need to put together all the pieces of this mass team fight. Brew is level 6 now. And as we saw in the Americas qualifier a couple of times, but most notably during the last couple of games today, the how effective a Brew is with his level 6 ult as quickly, if he can get active as quickly as possible, so often determines the fate of a team that's predicated around that.
Indeed it is, and right now he's not doing so bad. He's at 900 gold, and I'd like to see him go for like the straight blink rush this game. Getting treads or something like that when he's kind of struggling a little bit because he did get ganked is a little risky, because the later that blink does come, the harder it will be to get it later on if he starts getting ganked. So if you can just get out of the way and just start ganking with it as soon as possible, that's something I'd like to see. And Tidehunter is a hero that desperately needs his level 6. He's having a little bit of a hard time. Both offlaners are kind of struggling this game.
Yeah, the Nyx Assassin catching up a little bit, but still, like you said, kind of struggling a bit. The last few waves have really been favorable to him. He's been under his tower for quite some time.
Well, in mid lane, he's playing with fire here on this Panda. The Sunstrike well off the mark.
And he knew it was coming, too. And wow, DDZ's actually kind of low. And Brew going to be happy to get right in his face and farm because of. We have yet to really see a whole lot out of Bubu and out of Gehenna. But Gehenna has gone to the work jungling. He's actually going to have his Blink Dagger like now. He doesn't even have brown boots.
Yeah, he's going no boots blink. That's
bold.
That's not bad at all, I think. It's going to be unexpected for the most part. So and they're not going to need to be active with these two heroes. Like Wisp and Sanking are heroes that do not gank early. They just want to get their levels and their farm. And Sanking did a phenomenal job at getting his blink and timing. The only thing we need to see now is the Wisp get his level 6. He's a little far behind, only level 4 at 8 minutes. Gyro's doing phenomenally well. And once they get the relocate up and the blink daggers up on Panda and Sanking, we're going to see them just get really active on the map, I feel.
So talk to me about this combination of Gyro and Io. I mean, it's not something completely uncommon. As you said, there are plenty of teams who like to do it, Cloud9 among them. What are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of these two as they work?
I think the biggest strength of this combination is the early game, mainly laning. So they may have been afraid against the aggressive tri-lane, and that's where they picked it, and they thought, okay, maybe if they don't aggressive, Gyro was good against late game. But on top lane, it looks like they might go for either a kill here or push for this tower. It is a drums build on Naga, so I'm expecting him to go into a Radiance
mid,
after
DDZ's in trouble. A clap as well as a burrow strike, and he uses a split to secure the kill. This is high priority for them, and let's see if they can actually catch him. Yep, one last auto attacks there. Johnny came way far out. Yeah. Oh, the creep's actually blocking him, but the blink used once again the arrow, or excuse me, the stone to follow up as Arrow notches.
And then on top lane as well, Disruptor's way in trouble here.
Oh, Song. And still ties to the call down. So Naga Pulling back. And that's a big turnaround. RRQ all of a sudden erasing just about all of that deficit and bringing down a lot of very important targets, most notably getting the Invoker in mid.
Yeah, for me, to go back to the gyro, I feel like in the laning is its real strength. You can pop the rocket barrage while you're tethered and just chase people down and get kills. So I like how they're getting really active right there. And it's a big deal when you pop Song that early for nothing. It was a good idea to save his Disruptor's life, but unfortunately for him, the call down was already laid down, so he did fall anyways.
All right, we're coming up on 10 minutes in. How about we take our first look at the gold graph and see how these teams are shaping up. It's 750 gold lead currently for RRQ. Very, very marginal, but a 3,000 experience lead, so they're definitely getting the better of things there in terms of overall experience gain efficiency. Arrow right now going Midas on the Invoker. I mean, and now there's the blink on the Brewmaster. Tidehunter not quite level 6. Was just going to say with him here, with an Invis, if they could bait some kind of a big reaction or attempt to gank, they could turn it around. Doesn't look like that's going to be a possibility, but it might be after this wave.
He does have the level 6 now.
There it is.
Panda, its ult is down for 40 seconds, but he does have the blink dagger. We've got double blink up now in 10 minutes, so they are able to fight as much as they want right now. All they need now is Nyx. Oh, Nyx is level 6 too, so they can start ganking. So right now I think RRQ is in a good position.
Yeah, they really are. And, I mean, whenever you look on both sides, I feel like this is really where RRQ needs to be trying to execute. They've got a Sand King with Blink. They've got Io, who's got to be close to level 6. Yeah, he's right there, level 5.5, getting very, very close. And the Brewmaster, like you said, has his Blink. He's actually almost level 10 too. Nyx Assassin has Vendetta at his disposal now, and he managed to bounce back well. But more importantly, the fact that Gyro is a little bit like a Tiny in many ways, and that he tends to peak and valley. He peaks based on just how much damage output he can have, regardless of items, if he just has sufficient levels, and he certainly has that. He was left alone in lane for quite an amount of time. And this is where I think they need to execute, because the Naga, she's just level 8. Song of the Siren has a long cooldown, longest it's ever going to be in the game right now, for at least another 3 levels. She is just getting up a few core items. It looks like she might be going with a Radiance Rush, as she has 1,800 gold tucked away. This is when they can really take advantage of how long it takes for her to feel very, very effective.
Yeah, I do believe this is going to be the Radiance Rush game. All signs indicate, like, this is pretty standard build, just getting drums up first, and then going into the Radiance, then mass farming everything. As far as, like, late game goes with them, they're really reliant on this Naga. Like, they have no other means of late game other than possibly the Exort Invoker in the late game is alright. It's not terrible. It's a lot better than Quaswex, so she will be able to help him out a lot. Gyro is fairly good against Naga Siren, like I said, with the flat cannon, but if Naga does split her illusions properly, it's going to be hard for him. So I still give the late game advantage to RRQ, but, to Arrow, but RRQ does have good ways of dealing with it in the mid game.
Do want to point out that Zheng Zhe is actually using the new Anchor Smash to farm Ancients. And I don't know that I've seen this a ton. I mean, especially not on this level. I mean, he's got a huge stack. He's been stacking them all throughout the laning phase. And now getting a help from some salve. And yeah, he's actually good. He hit level 7 out of this. He's going to end up grabbing 2 levels at about 1,000 gold by the time he Anchor Smashes all of this down. He actually did max the Anchor Smash as well. So just very nice play out of the Tidehunter. Very simple stuff, but important in terms of getting up core items.
Yeah, this is something people don't abuse enough, and on top of that, this is something teams don't prevent from happening enough. Like, if you go back to, I want to say a year ago, Beastmaster offlane was like one of the big things. Like, you just stack it with Axis and farm it, and Tide's exactly the same thing this patch. If you let him stack it, he will farm fast in the Ancients.
Nefari denying that top tower, now moving under cover of Vendetta, looking for a target. Doesn't look like he's going to find it. And Arrow, I feel like after this, the Tide's going to be in very good shape. I mean, he's like level 7. He's got his Arc Boots up. He's halfway to a Blink Dagger, too, or give or take. They're still kind of sitting on the Gyrocopter down here, even though the IO's level 6. And, no, he actually did just relocate onto Johnny. And he drags the camera with us. Now here comes DDC. He's going to get at least 1 return kill, force stabbing himself to safety. Homing missile's going to be on the way. We'll connect to just buy them some time to retreat. Ends up being a 1-for-1 exchange. Now they're collapsing down the mid. Here's the Naga. She's going to go ahead and sleep. There's 2 great
They have
targets.
the combo on Disruptor.
Here we go. Kinetic Field, Static Storm, and they'll cancel it out, and they're in trouble. We can see Qual eating a lot of damage. Immediately we see the Nyx Assassin drop. They're going to try to turn this around, but glimpse back is the Brewmaster, and the Gyro going to end up dying as he's ensnared. RRQ overextending a bit and being punished for it by Arrow, as the Naga Siren's movement was on par. What did Rubik get? It looks like, yeah, he actually got Drunken Haze. Now they lose the Brewmaster on top of everything else. A huge turnaround for Arrow. They have sufficient personnel here to even push if they want to, though those spirits are doing a little bit of damage.
That was a little strange for me. Like, Panda had his ult the whole time. He didn't have to die there. Maybe he chose, like, alright, my ult's not going to do much, I'll just die anyway. But on top of that, Sand King was channeling Epicenter and did not blink into him, so we kind of just epied on top of Forge Spirits. I don't think it got cancelled either, so a little bit of a misplay from RRQ there, and they lost a lot out of that.
Yeah, I actually didn't even see or hear the Epicenter going off, so that's how little of an impact it actually had.
Yeah, it did absolutely nothing, unfortunately. And that's something that Arrow needed to get back. Like, they were never that far behind, but they were behind.
Right.
And kills like that are massive, especially when your gyro goes down like that.
Taking a look at the overall line of progression, we can see Tide, off of all that, he's actually skipping Blink entirely and opting for a mechanism. Do you feel like it's the right call?
I do like it, but when you do go a mech like this, I think Blink would be better, because I don't think they have any plans of grouping up and pushing towers. And if you don't plan on using the mech and taking tier 1 towers, I don't think it's a very strong item on Tidehunter. The Blink Dagger will be much more useful for team fighting and stuff like that. But they do have the initiation with Sleep, but you are running that one position Naga, and she doesn't want to be in every single team fight to set up to Sleep. She wants to be farming as much as she possibly can.
Right. And it seems like it'd be very difficult to try and push towers anyway against this team. I mean, you have great counter initiation out of a Sand King and a Brewmaster alone, let alone if a call down actually gets lined up and catches a couple of targets. These are great abilities to allow you to fight from out behind of a tower.
Johnny looking for something mid, not able to get the lift. Looks like they're just sitting behind Invoker for the most part and just waiting for them to play out of position. I think they're doing a real good job at like minimizing what the Brewmaster is doing this game. They're moving in positions where Brewmaster can't really do anything because there's always going to be a support behind. Just sitting behind wherever lane the Brewmaster is in, and he's not been able to get off many good ults except for that one in mid.
Yeah, and even that was kind of lackluster, if we're honest. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't. And honestly, they just about could have gotten that kill without it, I think.
It's possible. It was a good ult for the most part, but it wasn't like the best one I've ever seen. But they need to just get a couple more Brewmaster ults and actually force the issue, because as far as the Naga goes, she's up to her relic already, and if they keep letting her farm like this, where Gyro's almost got a BKB, so he's on par, but the Radiance is going to allow Naga to farm so much faster than Naga. Then Gyro's going to have to make up for it by getting kills. Yep,
and we're actually going to see the Nyx Assassin attacking Lance and the relocate on top of them. That's
big.
So late, just by a smidgen. If he had just decided to go straight for that, maybe he survives. It looks like there was a moment of hesitancy there, but very well played there out of RRQ, abusing the tether, and you know that's what I was talking about so far as Gyro being a peak and valley hero. At this level with max rocket barrage, that's 600 plus unmitigated magic damage coming out. Just huge.
And that's the hero they need to be killing. Like, the more they can delay this Radiance, the better shape they're going to be in. So, good job by them. Hopefully they can get off some more ganks on Naga if they want to win this game. That's what they need to be doing.
Sand King spotted, lifted, and Sunstrike going to be on the mark. He is going to be able to Burrow Strike away from all of it and now go straight into Sandstorm. He has been hit by Thunderstrike, but Ravage blown to bring out the 2 supports. Now they're going to try to retreat, but Brew blows the ulti, trying to pursue them out, catches Muzan with the rock. Calldown's going to be there, but it doesn't matter. It's going to end up being a 2-for-1 trade so far. They're going to end up getting at least one more. So RRQ coming in and trying to get the job done. They end up losing their Sand King as well as their IO, but they bring down the Disruptor, and now Nefari, we can see, eating quite a lot of damage from the Invoker. Didn't even need it.
That was a sick play.
Yep.
I've got to say. I think that was blind. But during that, it was a 2-for-2 trade, now a 3-for-2 trade, and Arrow was able to get the mid tower. Invoker picked that up on top of it. He got a kill on Nyx. That was a really, really sick play, actually, from Invoker. You don't see too many blind combos like that this early in the game. And he's already up to a 4-staff and a Necro 1. Or is that, maybe that's Necro 2 flying out? That's Necro 2. Yep. So this Invoker is getting farmed.
Arrow doing a great job of creating space for the 2 that need farm the most. As you said, the Invoker having a great game. He's 5-1-2, by the way. He's been involved in so many kills. He's been involved in, 7 of the 10 that Arrow has tallied so far. 1-1-4 for Lance's Naga Siren, getting dangerously close now to that Radiance. And even though we saw a little bit of rotation, a little bit of action coming out of the Gyro and the IO, I honestly feel like, as you said, the Brewmaster has been completely taken out of this early game. Have not felt his impact much at all.
His 2 ults, he did get 2 kills out of it. You can't ask for too much more than that. So it was alright, but they're not getting anything like towers out of it. They're just getting kills only. They're not translating it into towers. And yeah, the Brewmaster is a hero that does need to get objectives. He needs to start snowballing up quickly, and he can't rely entirely on this Gyro, because he's not going to be out carrying this Naga Siren anytime soon. And one thing I want to note as well, if there's no kills in mid, anyway, I'll wait until if they go on mid.
They're going to go ahead and try to catch DDZ. Impale to follow it up. Help's coming. Arrow bringing in, and he's still alive just by some miracle. And here comes the gyro to help clean things up. Arrow with the Tidehunter there. Doesn't have Ravage. Even if he did, can't use it in Static Storm. He's going to be all right now. Brewmaster using his own ulti. This is what they really need the most. These big exchanges. Not just 1 for 1, 2 for 2, but these big 4 for 1s. This is what you have to have if you're going to try to execute this way. And Tidehunter caught out there. Yeah, Tidehunter caught out. He didn't have Ravage. Feel like that was really the big factor. If they have that kind of counter initiation, as it stands there, that's exactly what I was talking about so far as the Brew having to have more of an influence. And like you said, it's not just that it gets kills, but has to be big trades that actually put them ahead or make up ground. And following that, we can see that puts a big dent into the goal grab and gets things back on track for RRQ.
Yeah, that was a really well-executed play by RRQ there. They were able to get the Invoker instantly, which is huge. If Invoker gets no spells up, they're most likely going to win the team fight with this composition until Naga gets more items online. We do have the Necro 3 up on the Invoker, so he's still really farm. But what I was going to say before is, like, one of the heroes that I love seeing Southeast Asian players play the most is Invoker. I feel like they play one of the best Invokers in the world. They always go for, like, the flashy plays, and they seem to be one of the fastest in the game at using this hero.
His farm's definitely top tier. Off of that, by the way, and this just goes to show the importance of that exchange. The Naga Siren was ahead of the Gyrocopter. Now he's leapfrogged her a bit and is about 1,000 gold ahead. Now, not to say it's going to be the end of the world in either case, but they have to be using this early game potential as effectively as they did right there. 11 to 11, split right down the middle, 22 kills in a 21-minute game. Which team do you think's done the most work in the first 20 minutes, and which do you think's going to be entering the mid-game in the best position?
I think they're both still pretty even right now, but I think RRQ has done the most work. All the kills Arrow got were kind of earlier in the game. The last couple engagements were definitely in RRQ's favor. But right now, they just need to go into late game. With this Radiance, Naga cannot fight until she gets like one more item up, unless they want to do a combination with her sleep. But for now, as you can see, Naga is just spamming out the gyro. Luckily, there is a Wisp, so I might have to eat my words here coming to the late game. I actually forgot to mention that Wisp is actually probably going to give that little bit of edge to Gyro to take him into the late game, because the problem Gyro usually has is the illusions just keep beating him down. He gets whittled down slowly, but with the Wisp, he'll be able to heal him up and give him some more attack speed, and that might be enough to sustain the damage from Naga.
Well, and something that I think is often underestimated on top of everything you just said in terms of what an IO can give you, the ability to relocate someone out of trouble. We see in particular Cloud9, Pylai Die for the most part, does that a lot with Eternal Envy. You know, they'll run IO plus a Luna, and anytime EE gets stunned or things get bad, he'll relocate him not back to the base, but just back a little bit. You know, just out of the fight for a second. Then they can reset and re-engage, and that's something of particular value, as you said. A Gyro who wants to kite every target as much as he possibly can, just having that extra little bit of help on top of a BKB to keep himself safe. That could be a big factor, especially against a melee hero like a Naga Siren.
It could be. Usually when Pylai Die does that, it's like against Bat Riders and stuff like that. So they could do that against a Tide Ravage. It will be harder because against Tide Ravage in particular, it is a huge AoE. So if you start relocating into it and the spikes hit you, it will cancel your relocate. So it'll be a lot harder this game to do that. But if you can get it done, it is a nice little thing that you can do. And on top lane, looks like Brew will go in. He does have the ultimate up.
Cold Snap, Static Storm, Kinetic Field bit off a lot more than he knew was there. Eyes a little bigger than his stomach. They're going to come in, though. BKB off of the relocate. Great Impale, catches a couple, and the Burrow Strike to follow it up as the call down does good damage. Johnny is actually safe for the moment. He does get dusted just around the corner and tracked down by that Nixus as he's going to be telekinesed elsewhere, and Arrow is trying like hell to keep those supports alive. It's a 2-for-1 so far, and another Burrow Strike coming over with an Epi. That'll be onto the Disruptor. Here comes Zhang Zai back up. Sand King trying to brave it out. Sand, I just heard a
Sunstrike. It was on the Wisp. Didn't kill him. Just a little bit of harass.
But now, off of that, Arrow in a great position to try and pressure this Tier 3. It's down to about a quarter health. And Tidehunter, I feel like his Ravages have, for the most part, really been on the mark. And that was a really bizarre fight. You usually don't see fights get that spread out, like literally across terrain gaps.
Yeah, well, right there, the MVP of that fight was Disruptor. He hit, like, He got the glimpse off as soon as the Wisp came in. He knew he couldn't do it on the gyrocopter anymore, because when you do it on the gyrocopter, he could just BKB it. So he sent the Wisp back instantly, and more importantly, he got the Static Storm off before the Panda got his ult off, which won them that team fight completely. So for me, the MVP was definitely Disruptor in that fight.
Yep, and we saw the power of that, you know, and we were even talking about during the draft just what his role was going to be and how important it was going to be. And I don't know if you caught it, this Nyx almost died to a Sunstrike in his own base.
Yeah.
He was sitting like right here and got Sunstruck as he was face tanking creeps and got down to about 50 HP after a Sunstrike caught him as a solo target. But Tide in the meantime continuing to just go up with the group support items. He's on his way to a pipe. He's got the Hood of Defiance already up. And he is actually pretty well farmed for a Tide Hunter. He's actually right there behind the Brewmaster. I'm not sure if that's good for the Tide or if that's bad for the Brew.
I mean, Brew's doing okay at this stage. Tide's doing really good at this stage of the game, especially considering how hard of a game he had for the first couple of waves. But this Invoker's farm is absolutely ludicrous. He has a BKB now. This is probably one of the most farmed Invokers I've ever seen in competitive Dota at this minute. It's 25 minutes in. He has Book 3, Midas, BKB, and a 4-staff.
Oh, and he's soloing Roshan, just because he can.
Straight up soloed it. No one else helped him.
Nope. He had spectators, the Disruptor watching on and applauding. But yes, DDZ using the Forge Spirits, the Necro Book, and everything else, able to bring down the Roshan all by himself. And it seems like this will be the time for Arrow to press their advantage. Having given up that Roshan, wow, they actually just ducked into the pit to smoke. Let's see if they can find a target. But, you know, at this point, if you're RRQ, what's the game plan? Do you anticipate this kind of a move afterwards, and what's your reaction? Do you play super defensive?
Well, right now they're going to have to avoid this gank if they want any chance to keep these towers alive. And it looks like the Sleep's going to come in. They need to go on this Brewmaster if they can set up with Disruptor.
Yep, there it is. Kinetic Field Static Storm, and he's going to be blown up. Tide has Ravage, not anymore, uses it, and they're going to be able to bring down one in the woods. Very quick 2 kills. They get down the 2 big counter initiators and the Brewmaster and the Sand King. Tell you what, man, Arrow's looking good. Their prioritization of targets, their execution, their teamwork, just top tier so far.
Yeah, they're playing super well right now. And one thing we see trending a lot too is Disruptor. And all the games we've seen, it's been such a huge factor.
Well, think about some of the more popular picks right now, and think about how many of them he counters. Even Mirana, who's notoriously tough to track down. If she's a 1 position, same thing we just saw. Static Storm Kinetic Field works on anyone who really relies on ability.
Mid lane, it looks like we're going to go for a solo kill here.
Looking for it. And here comes some help. There's going to be the Nyx Assassin brought down. So got there late. Didn't even see how that started, but it looked like a feed to me.
Well, Invoker, he was just farming there, but Invoker just went and cold snapped him, 4-staffed in, got the Ice Wall down with the book, and then cold snapped. Like, right now for me, DDZ is not becoming, but as far as Arrow goes, he seems to be one of their most talented players. His Invoker play has been superb.
He's got 3,100 gold tucked away, by the way. He's probably going to go buy bots.
It's not even just how farmed he is. He's ridiculously farmed, but his spell usage has been on point, too.
Like you said, that blind combination, dropping the rock, following it with a Sunstrike.
And then there in mid lane, 4-staffing into like the Ice Wall there. Really well played by him. And right now, this Brewmaster does have his ult up, but it seems like he's not able to get his ult off because Disruptor is just like making his life hell right now.
Pipe done for Tide Hunter, and Pipe, one of those items. I mean, Mech's a great team fight item, but if you really want to try to crack the base early, say like at 30 minutes, Pipe's one of those items that just makes that much more palatable. And I'll tell you what's got to be scary for RRQ. Pipe's up now. Where's their damage? I mean, the Gyrocopter's not in bad shape. He's picked up an Eagle Song, but mostly he's gone with Morbid Mask and the defensive BKB as one would anticipate. He's hitting okay-ish at about 172 damage, but the rest of their team fight composition is predominantly made up of magic damage, which is now for the large part mitigated.
Yeah, they're going to have a hard time killing their team because I think Gyro's doing farm on items. The problem is Arrow right now is just they're way too farmed right now. So even though he is really farmed on Gyro for this minute, it's just not enough because they're getting really tanky. There's a point booster up on top of the Disruptor. Tide has his pipe. Nog is a hero that's going to be always hard to kill. She is going for the Lincolns. Just finished that as well. Looks like it's coming out in the courier. And no need to talk about this Invoker's items. He's obviously super farmed. It looks like they're doing it again.
Disaster as 2 are caught. There's the Ravage just to secure. And the Brew going to fall to ground and die immediately. Call down's there, and they're trying to turn this around, but Arrow, as you said, just so tanky. The pipe mitigated a lot of damage out of that. The epicenter a bit too much. Put them over the top. And yeah, the Panda actually did get off his ulti. I thought he died amidst all that, but he got the split off.
Very, very close. He has a rocket chasing him. What level is that rocket? It's max rocket, so... Oh, did he just save his life?
Yep. And now Lance is there. Here come the creeps even to get involved. There's going to be a static storm, and now we see Gehenna being one-on-one by this disruptor. Here comes DDC to help clean things up. And RRQ looked like they got away with one there. I don't know how the Panda survived there. I really, really don't.
He barely got his ult off. He should have died there. They didn't chain their abilities or focus him down because they thought he was going to die, so he was able to get off his ultimate there, and it didn't matter too much. They did lose Naga only there, and Wisp was the only sole survivor. And it feels like Arrow right now is looking good, and RRQs, they're running out of gas here.
15K, that's a big hole to dig yourself out of, man. And they're going to pull back, and it looks like they want to play it safe. And maybe, I don't think they really need to wait out another Roshan, do you?
They don't need to, no, because they still have the Aegis on top of the Invoker, so they can go ahead and use this. And when do they decide to push high ground? Maybe they never do, to be honest with you. Maybe they just split push with Invoker Book and the Naga illusions. So I don't actually think they need to group up and push. They can just keep playing this style of Dota, and I think they can eventually just whittle down their base.
Well, right now, they seem to be wanting to play it patient. If you're RRQ, 5-man, pretty much your only answer, agreed?
Yeah, they have to go together, but unfortunately, every time they 5-man, the Naga gets to sleep off with the Disruptor combo. They're going to lose every fight if they do that. So they're kind of in a rough spot right now where they need to find the picks, but it's going to be very hard for them to find picks with this type of lineup Arrow has, with the books going out, constantly scouting for the Nyx Assassin, and only illusions available for ganks.
Well, this is a nice first step. They've got a gem up on the Sand King, and the gem up on the Sand King, allowing them to bring down some of the wards. They're going to find the second one right now. So, Gehenna, helping to put them in the dark. Now they just need to get some better warding of their own. To be honest, their warding for an IO-based team has kind of been lackluster. It's mostly just been on the river, as we can see right now.
They do have that Necro 3, though, without much map positioning, so a lot of their wards are going to be limited in where they can place them, or else the Necro 3 will just come by and kill them. I'm not sure if he's dewarded too many with them, but I'm sure he's dewarded quite a few at this point. And it's going to be hard for them to ward. Aegis just expires, so I think before they do push, they will go for one more Aegis.
Gyro going to TP away. There was a little bit of a flow up that way by Arrow, but yeah, that's kind of what I was saying is, you know, do they try to push their advantage, just reset and run down mid again, or wait out another Aegis? It looks like it will be the latter, and should be up before too terribly long. I'm still, yeah, it's going to be about 2 minutes, it looks like, if I'm reading that correctly. I think that's what that means, right?
Not sure.
No, okay, no, I think it resets after that, right?
Yeah, it should.
Yeah, so it just expired. Yeah, now it'll reset at 8, and then it'll be somewhere on here.
Right, okay, so that makes sense.
Can we just have a countdown timer with numbers?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they have to make it really confusing and change it all the time.
I actually knew how to read the old one. That's the thing. Like, everyone complained about it. It's not that the old one wasn't hard. You just had to understand it.
Yeah. I guess this one's the same way.
But anyway, Tide picking up the plate mail. Shivas.
Yep, looks like Shiva's going to be his next item on top. Naga just going to do the split push business. And officially, RRQ is on the back foot now. Like, they can't really go out of their base too much and look for kills because Naga's just going to be constantly split pushing. And more than anything, if you do go for a gank, oh, that looks like they're going to relocate on top.
Trying to bring down Lance. And should be... Oh, there's that sleep.
Oh, the
homing missile. The homing missile.
Run into it, dude.
The homing missile.
Oh, he's just going to run away from it. He might be able to outrange that. Yeah.
And DDZ actually gets a kill elsewhere. And
same lane.
And here he comes, just going to town. Was following the homing missile, and looks like Daddy showed up and ran off the hoodlums. Not liking the way they were treating Lance, but yeah, that was a nice attempt there, and that's the kind of pick they really have to have. But like you said, I mean, how do you account for that? Like, what's the answer when that's exactly what you have to have?
They're gonna lose a tier 3 up here too, just to like minions.
Yep, there it goes.
Radiant's top tower has fallen.
So, but back to the question, like is exactly what RRQ needs to do, but with the Naga Siren now almost level 16, her ult is going to be on such a short cooldown. She has bots of her own, so she can bounce around very easily. What's the plan? Like, you have to have those, but you're having so much trouble. How do you shore that up?
It's really tough for them right now. I've got to say, like, right now their only hope is in Gyrocopter. They have to I feel like they just need to play around Gyro right now. And at some point in this game, they're just going to have to group up as 5 try to get some BKBs. Maybe they wait for the BKB on Panda. It looks like he realizes he needs to get that item or else he's not going to get his ult off. So they might just be waiting for the BKB on Panda. Then I feel like they just need to group up together, sit behind this Gyrocopter, and just finally take a team fight where they're all together and they can actually get their spells
Good
off.
chance here. As they're going on Lance again, Lincoln's is popped. Do they have everything they need? And the relocate just to secure the kill. All right. That's RRQ getting it done. And I like the way they did it that time. They did it with smoke. They just anticipated where she was going to be and got the job done. They knew she was farming bottom, anticipated that she would be bouncing into the jungle afterwards. And her ult, they knew, was on cooldown. Not by much, but she still is level 15, so they could count that out in their head, and not a problem. Looks like Roche is going to be up in about 1 minute and 45 seconds.
And they will definitely be going for that. So they're doing a really good job at finding this Naga and killing her. So that's buying him a little time. Invoker, as well as he's getting close to 6 slot now. He can only burn one more item, so that's always like good news to a degree. I mean, of course, it's never good that Invoker is super farmed like that, but he's not going to get much more farm this. He did grab a Lincoln Sphere as well, and looks like they're finally going to group up and try to take this tier 1.
And we see the Knicks coming in and trying to make something happen. Burrow strike on the Johnny. There's the Tide to help them out. Behind that, the fight beginning to flow down south. The creeps were dropped, and yeah, now they're going to chase them away. We see Nyx and Sand King both biffed it in that engagement. Naga Siren just about to respawn for Arrow. So they went for it. The Knicks jumped into a lot of trouble. And DDZ rushing uphill on his own. Brew's going to be there. Hits him with the drunken haze.
Oh,
and
good
actually
sleep.
stolen. Yep, there's the sleep. Who do they get? They got...
They're just going to get the wisp out of it, but it should be... It's a good sleep still. It's not... wait, that was still the level 2 sleep, so Rose should be up pretty soon here. Getting a kill like that isn't the greatest. I thought that was still level 3 sleep, but she's really struggling to get that level 16.
Yep, the Gyro actually is eating a lot of damage. There's a glimpse back. No, he BKB'd through it. Good play by Koala. And that was actually a very short glimpse. He didn't have a whole lot of reaction time. He dies in that for sure if he doesn't spend a BKB charge.
Bad news for him is he is on a 5-second BKB timer now, so that's going to be going down quickly, which is going to make it really easy for Tide just to hold his Ravage and then throw it in.
Actually shot a Sunstrike into the base just for the hell of it. He actually did hit Koala too, is the funny thing. But had enough health after that time in regen. But this is going to be another Aegis. And you think DDZ takes this or someone else?
I think he shouldn't take it because he has 3,000 gold right now. And on top of that, he can sell his Midas and bot, so he can rebuy into the fight. Maybe the Naga might want this. And to be honest with you, I thought this Naga would be much more farm, but she's not too scary. I feel like Gyro can actually, in one flag cannon, destroy all of her illusions at this point.
Not tanky enough.
Definitely not tanky enough, and she just keeps getting picked off, which is going to be a problem. No matter how farmed your Invoker gets, it's not going to be that scary at some point. It looks like they're going to go in on bottom.
There's going to be the Rock dropped and the Deafening Blast trying to follow it up, and another BKB charge left. That's going to be minimum BKB time, and he has to just TP away in his face. Io, though, not quite as lucky, and that's going to be a simple kill. Tide even coming in to secure the kill, not steal it. That's kill secured. And, yeah, at this point, Arrow, I think their farm has piled up way too high. Well, I think that's maybe the biggest understatement I've ever made. 25,000 gold at a 37-minute game. That's a little bit of a lead, a little bit.
It's like mainly all on this Invoker, too. Like, this Invoker's net worth is off the charts. Like, how often do you see an Invoker out-farm a safe lane free-farming Naga 40 minutes into the game? DDC has really been impressing me. That's all I've got to say.
DDZ, without a doubt, the MVP so far. There's going to be a Burrow Strike that's wasted on Lincoln's. Now the Gush and the EMP to follow it up. There's going to be an Impale that actually catches 3. Cooldowns there as well.
Oh, Panda has no mana.
And, yep, it doesn't matter. Static Storm catches them. There's going to be the Ravage used just to secure things. BKB, that's going to be Koala using a 4-second BKB. Wears off right now. He's ensnared down. There's an Epicenter. That might be enough to kill the Disruptor. Not even enough to kill the Disruptor. Valiant effort, but this should just about be that as Boo Boo comes in to make it a full 5-man wipe. That's going to be at least 1 center racks, probably 2, if not all 3.
Ban this Invoker, and that's all I got to say. This Invoker is worth a ban, and I have to say for Arrow as well, not only just DDC's individual performance, the way they coordinate these spells as a team is remarkably good. Like, the way they... Right now, their teamfight execution for me is top tier. It is top tier. Invoker play, obviously top tier as well. Naga for me was a little underwhelming. This is the first game. Maybe he had an off game. But For me, just the execution of this team was just on another level from RRQ.
Yeah, and you know you're going to see this in some of these qualies. This really just feels like skill difference.
Yeah,
and that's okay. It doesn't mean that these teams can't pull upsets, but on the whole, this is what you expect to see when a team is simply more experienced and better at their positions across the board. And that's really how it felt. The dominant performance out of the Invoker, no way to question it. 16, 2, and 10 was involved in 26 of the 31 kills that Arrow managed to put together. Finished with 729 GPM by the time all was said and done as well. And yeah, the Naga Siren, like you said, it's one of those games where you look and go, yeah, 400 last hits, 40 minutes, not bad. Radiance, Lincolns, Manta, bots, oh well, not too bad. Invoker had everything, bought everything, and had it very quickly. So a good win for Arrow, and they get off to an excellent start here at the International TI4. At this point, we've been on camera so long, dude, I'm starting to stumble on my words. TI4 qualifiers.
Yeah,
it's the Southeast Asia region. Thanks so much for being a part of the broadcast, guys. I'm your host, Aaron A.C. Chambers. This guy to my left, your right, his name is Fear. You've probably heard of him. He was in a movie not too long ago. If you haven't seen it yet, you should. But I don't know there's a whole lot more to break down about it.
Nope.
Arrow just on a different level.
For me, I'm just observing, looking at players to look out for, and this is a fun thing for me, of like looking into new scenes, is finding new players and teams to follow.
Right.
And for me, like, I keep harping on this, but that's one of the best Invokers I've seen in a very long time.
Do you think
probably the best ever, actually?
Like, really?
Yeah, that's one of the
statement.
best individual performances I've seen from Invoker probably in any match.
Do you think, and I have to ask this question, was it just that he's a well above average player who was against well below average skill, or do you think it was just he's literally on that level? Like,
I think he's on that level because, like, as an Invoker player, there's certain things that you have to do, and it doesn't matter. Like, it does matter the skill of your teammates, but he was hitting all of his spells, like Force Staffing and getting the Ice Pass, on part with the Sun Strikes, the Meteors on point as well. So his spell usage is just really good. No matter how good you are of a player to play against that, stuff like that, you can only do if you're a really good Invoker player. So that was really good play from him. On top of that, just the execution. The one thing the Naga did really exceptionally well that game was setting up the sleeps on the right targets, and the Invoker and top of like the Disruptor, they had really good combos. Like the Disruptor comboed extremely well with Naga. Tide, he didn't have the best ravages as that game. He did have good farm though, however. But the Disruptor for me was also a really, really, really solidly played.
Yeah, I just feel like the communication was immense. Like every time there was a Naga sleep, it wasn't like, okay, Naga sleep team fight, let's see how it goes. It was like there was a definite plan. They all ran right to their target. The kinetic fields, if they could get one, if they could get two or more, great, but mostly just like Brewmaster's a target. Kinetic field him, Static Storm, and then everything else just played itself out. And, the Gyrocopter, like you said, the Naga didn't feel tanky enough to really be able to be a huge threat, but by that point it didn't matter. The Invoker was a big enough threat on his own. All right, guys, we're going to be back. Let's see, what time is it? It's 10:13. I don't think we've actually got too much longer. Yeah, actually should be coming up in about 5 minutes. I'm AC. That's Fear, and we're going to continue rolling forward from the Penthouse cast here at the Beyond the Summit House. And of course, your North American hub coverage here at TI4, the Southeast
Asia.
I give up. Say it.
This is Southeast Asia, and we'll be back.
All right, we'll be right back, guys. Stick with us.